relevant. I don't think it's the right thing to do. I think even if the right time to consider changing and change this thing, because even the President of the United States yesterday changed and is going to go along with the commitment with keeping the tax system of our middle income as been and continue it for the next 2 years. But everyone has a right to change their mind, and I think that you people should change your mind, and I think it should be considered, and I think it's a real consideration for everyone in the town, and as a taxpayer, you should be willing to look forward where we can earn some more income. And as a matter of fact, to say some other good things, I think I remember reading about 3 or 4 months ago in one of the newspapers that the Tides restaurant was the #1 entertainment place, should I say, or #1 in the whole county. And that's another thing to be considered. And it is a good and decent, respectable place, whether you go there or not. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Rivard, may I address one comment, please?
No, not for the moment. Are there any more public comments? Janet, do you have any more public comments?
Once again, if there's no public comments, we're going to be closing public comments.
Can I just ask a
Are they-
question? I just have one question.
Are you the applicant? I mean,
Yes,
truly
I just
are
have
you?
one
So
question.
you
One
can
question.
come up here with Peter and
No,
talk
I
as if
just
you're the
want, well,
applicant.
I'd like Peter to go up and talk, because when you read your first comment, you gave him the option to go up and respond. Now there's another comment, and you're telling him, no, he can't respond, and I'm not quite sure why.
No, we're going to let him respond, though. I mean, now, once we close public comments, now we can have a dialogue back and forth between
And the other thing
the
is, why
applicant.
isn't there any control of the room? You're allowing everyone to scream and yell, like,
We
we
have-
should all be acting like adults here.
Actually, we have someone who wishes to make a comment.
I want to ask a question, and that is, will comments be closed after tonight? Or will you accept written comments afterwards?
That will be dealt with when we come to the discussion.
Oh,
That will be addressed.
well, but I'm trying to figure out whether I should make a comment now or just write it down and send it to you later, and I'm asking that question.
No, you can write a comment down and put it in later.
Can you speak now?
If you have one with you, do you want to read it?
I can say it without reading it, I suppose I should then.
We'll do it.
Excellent opportunity.
Would you please state your name and your building?
My name is Donald Young. I'm at 3500 South Ocean Boulevard. There were several parts of the application that I questioned. I actually got all of the materials and read them over fairly carefully, and there's some I found difficult to believe. One in particular was the statement that the town citizens of South Palm Beach are overwhelmingly in favor of the new construction, and have been. And they mentioned polls that were taken and letters that were sent to the town clerk. And I questioned that. I want to ask Janet Whipple, did she in fact receive 500 letters in support of the plan as presented in the past?
I haven't counted them, but we had quite a number of both sides.
Well, I know you had quite a number of both sides, but the way it was presented, polls are taken, and polls can say various things by how you take the polls and how you ask the questions and who actually responded. For instance, you may have had 500 letters, or the 500 letters of people who lived in South Palm Beach, or were they just letters?
Mr. Young,
Count for you, Mr. Young?
which year are you talking about?
Well, I'm talking about in the material that I received today, which was part of this application. So you see, I'm addressing things that were in this
I think you're
application.
probably referring to the one that was 700 and something
Well, there were several of
in
them.
2007.
For instance, on the first page, it mentioned, there were several different, actually, I left them in my chair now. I'm not sure it's terribly important. What I'm trying to get to is all of the factual details in the application actually correct? I'm worried about the fact that the comments, that the quote factual details may have been based under polls that were taken that were not terribly legitimate, like just getting anybody to make a comment whether they lived in South Palm Beach or not, or having multiple letters from the same person.
I will actually address that myself when we come to the discussion.
Okay. There's something else I wanted to say, which is a broader comment, and this is personal opinion, but it has to do with this revision, request for revision of the town plan. And that is, I've been here for a long time. My father came down in the 1960s, and my wife and I have inherited that and have been here since then. And so when we first came down, we were in the first building in town, and it was just jungle around us, and we watched the town grow up around us. It's interesting that the directions of development that the town took were somewhat frightening, because over the years, and this applies, I suppose, to all of Florida around us in our vicinity, that the actual development of the towns reflected more the intention of the developers who were in business and whose aim was to get as much profit as possible, as fast a profit as possible, and get away with their profits. And we can see this in our own community, where the intent has always been traditionally to convince the town planners that they be allowed to build the largest building possible and squeeze as many people into that building as possible. And we have examples of that here in our own town. And this, to me, is another example of that continuing process. We have developers who are trying to convince the town planners to change the town plan. So, Mr. Chairman.
Your 3 minutes.
Okay, well, I can.
If you just wind up.
Well, in that case, I'm saying you are part of you are part of the only protections the citizens of our town have. I think it's been well expressed in many public votes that, in fact, they are not in favor of an expansion of that building or the size of the building.
Are there any more comments? Does anyone else want? No, you've already made your comment.
No, but I wasn't allowed to ridicule you, but he's allowed to praise you. That is not called a democracy.
Please. Are there any more comments?
You're very good for
From the
listening
audience.
to good things for you.
And if not, I will close this public hearing. Right, we close the public hearing. We now come to discussion by the board. Let me just say that the public hearing part of these proceedings gave residents, only a few, a chance to voice their feeling about the oceanfront inn's proposal that would allow the inn to be redeveloped as a 99-unit, 90-foot-high hotel. Although I don't know how many of them had a chance to actually study Crossover Realty's full application. A few people came in and asked to see it in the 2 weeks since it was posted in condominiums. Now it's the turn of the 5 of us up here who have had the advantage of studying this for some weeks. 5 of us who were each elected to the by the council and are charged with the task of analysing this application and making a decision to either recommend that the council approve it or not. We also have to respond to the input of residents at least 2 weeks before the council's final hearing. This we did last year by having all written and verbal comments sorted, packaged and forwarded to the council. And to answer the gentleman who spoke just now, this is the size of the package of written and verbal comments that went to the council. Now, this notice, the notice for this meeting went out only 2 weeks ago, facts to each condo. I don't know if it was put up over Thanksgiving or not. Whether or not we have enough comments now to do this, we will have to decide when we're discussing the various aspects of this. Before asking for your comments on the board here, I would point out that while we are required to take into consideration all written and verbal comments, which is basically 5 verbal comments, this is not a controlled referendum. It never has been. These public hearings are not controlled referendums. The council elected each one of us, this board, to analyse what comes before us and to do and say what we, as individuals, think is best for the town. Now, I don't know who wishes to start the ball rolling here.
Chairman Navarro.
No, please. The public hearing is finished.
He's not
The public hearing is
You don't even
finished.
know your own rules.
Actually, Chairman, he will have an opportunity to respond to the public comments or whatever, but I think right now, you'd like to hear from your.
Oh, well,
correct?
it's the board, that's what we're here.
Mr. Biggs, before we move too far away from the public comments, I wanted to respond to a few of them.
But he's in charge of the meeting, so if you would
No,
write
legal
those
comments,
down
let us
and hold them for a second, he'll get to you. Okay?
Right,
Can I have something?
right. Ms. Festina.
Thank you. I do have a statement I'd like to read. And I thought about this afternoon. Also, I'm wondering if I have standards for a slander suit at this point.
As a public official, probably not.
Oh, no.
Why doesn't she tell us against who?
It is my opinion that if Kosovo Realty made a concerted effort to have their building comply with the heightened zoning requirements of South Palm Beach, it might be an application worth presenting. I do not see at this time that there is any significant change in this proposal from their last proposal a year ago, and they have said so themselves. There is no definition of exactly what they are applying for. Is it to be a hotel or a timeshare or what? Their proposal on page,
Don't imply
excuse me,
that now.
their proposal on page 1,
They don't know what they're talking about.
excuse me,
But that's not what we're talking about. You have to,
Please, if you cannot you've had your chance to speak, if you cannot let the board members speak, I'll have to have you leave the room. Now, please,
Try.
listen.
just try it, because everyone else would have to
Listen.
leave with me. Just try it.
Now,
Oh, please.
we don't have to